So I finally got my hands on a set of Guitarfetish GFS RedActive pickups, and in this video, I'm going to be dropping them into a Jackson Kelly JS32. I'm going to go over all the steps and everything that's involved to drop these into a dual humbucker guitar, as well as doing a demo at the very end so you can hear how they sound. Let's dive in. Alright, so here is a quick idea of what you get if you order the solderless kit and the pickups. I actually obviously already took one out of the packaging, out of the box. You have a second pickup which comes labeled with the number for the bridge or neck pickup, and then you have, of course, your wiring here, which is the wiring kit. Looking into it really quickly, so I've done one of these before and it really wasn't all that difficult. The only other things that this pickup kit comes with that I left out were the pickup height adjustment screws and springs, and of course the wiring diagram. Thankfully the wiring diagram is available on their website in case you lose your copy like I did. I'll be sure to put a link to that in the description as well. This is going to be your three-way switch. We have the connector for the 9-volt battery, input jack, the 2 pickup bus board, pretty much everything we need here for our solderless kit, our 2 pots. So we are basically good to go. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get the guitar up on the bench and get these pickups installed. So with the guitar up on the bench, now we're going to go over a few tools that you'll need to make this happen. You're going to need a small Phillips head screwdriver, which is necessary for all of the small screws around the pickup rings and the pickups. Depending on the type of knobs that you have on your guitar, you may or may not need a small Allen key to get them off. On this particular guitar, they are just pull off. I'll show you a trick with a rag to get those off, so you may need a rag to make that happen as well. So one thing I also forgot to mention is that you'll need a ratchet and a 7/16 socket. This will make getting the nuts off of the volume, tone, and input jacks incredibly easy and reduce the risk of scratching the paint. One last thing that I needed that I probably should have foreseen but didn't was... Yeah, I needed a drill. Unfortunately, the hole from the cavity to the input jack is not quite wide enough, at least in this guitar, so what I had to do is drill that out, or really just kind of bevel it out a little bit. Keep that in mind, you may need a drill in the process, so have one ready with a 5/32 bit. And aside from that, the only other thing you'll really need is a pair of pliers. You'll need this for the nut on the 3-way switch and to cut all of the wires when necessary. I'm going to start by removing the strings and the bridge, and we'll get going from there. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and flip the guitar over and get into the cavity here. Let me just say another thing that I highly recommend is one of these magnetic bowls. So you can put all the hardware that you're using in at the time in there. You don't have to worry about losing it. Looking in here, try to cut as close to these switches as you can. Just in case you want to ever go back, you want to reuse any of this stuff. Let's do this as neatly and as cleanly as possible. Okay, so with everything disconnected, at this point we can go ahead and remove this stuff from here. So depending on the guitar, you may need a different type of socket wrench. It's the easiest way to get this off without actually scratching it or putting teeth marks on it. If you absolutely had to, you could use a set of pliers, but I would advise putting a piece of cloth over this so that you don't scratch it. Pull this out. So now what we're going to do is remove the knobs using a towel here. Usually all you got to do is get up underneath the knob, just kind of get it wrapped around and pull. And that's usually enough to get the knobs off. Just kind of loosen those. And now we are good to go. So last but not least, here is this switch. We don't want to put any teeth marks in it if we don't have to. What we're going to do is put our towel over it, and then some pliers on top. And again, we're going to save this switch as well, because, what did I say earlier? You never know when you're going to need it. Next, we want to get these pickups out. We're going to start by just removing the 4 screws on the outside. That way we can at least take the entire thing out. And then from there, we will remove the pickup from the ring. All right, so this we can go ahead and pull all the way out. Here we go. Okay, so pickups out. We are ready to go. One piece of advice here would be to mark these pickups so that you know which one is the bridge and which one is the neck before you take them out of the pickup rings. That way, if you plan on using these again, you'll know which is which. So I'm going to start. This is the bridge pickup here. So I'm going to go ahead and start and get that put into here. We're going to take this out and holding onto the spring so that we don't, have it go wild on us. We're going to put our new one in, logo side to the fat side. All right, so just kind of line it up. All right, so now the pickup height adjusting screws are different than the threads on the pickup. So the obvious problem here is that the pickup height adjustment screws that came on the guitar don't fit these pickups. The other problem that I have is that the pickup height adjustment screws that came with the pickups are chrome, and I really don't want to add any chrome hardware to this guitar. If you remember earlier, I mentioned the importance of keeping leftover parts. As luck would have it, I have a couple of black pickup height adjustment screws in my box that actually fit these pickups, so I'm good to go. If it hadn't been for that, I would have been stuck using the chrome ones to finish the project, or having to order the correct ones and wait. Do the other one here. We'll measure those out later, but a quick mock-up to make sure that they fit. Guys, those look dope in this guitar. I am super stoked. Now that we know that they fit, everything fits in there, we're going to go ahead and get onto the wiring portion of this. What we're going to do now is go ahead and remove these for the moment, and we are going to run the wires through. You're going to want to start with the neck pickup here, obviously, because you don't want to put this pickup in over it. What we have to do now is hope that the holes in this guitar are large enough to snake this through. And it appears that that is the case, which is awesome. At least for number one. Now, hole number two, let's see if we can get it through without having to make it any larger. Oh, I think we're in good shape here, guys. This is straight up awesome. And you can see cables have come through the bottom here. What we can do at this point, connect our first pickup. You want the terminals visible from the bottom. Plug that in, pull through, and we are wired in. The second pickup here may be a little tricky with those wires already through, and I feel like that's probably going to be an issue because it was tight going through, but hopefully we kind of get lucky here. Okay, so this part's going to be a little bit tricky. No way around it because you have the width of these wires already through. Using one wire to push the next wire through. Oh, I think we got it. But instead of trying to put them through side by side, I kind of piggybacked them through like this is a straight line, and it was able to get it through. So before we put that bridge pickup in, one thing we're going to want to do is mark that particular set of wires in the cavity. That way we know once both pickups are in which set of wires belong to which as we're wiring it up. Don't make the same mistake I did and then have to go back and pop one of those pickups out to figure out which sets of wires are which. Save yourself the time and the effort. Do it now. So the next thing to do is plug the bridge pickup in, rotate over and down, and we are set. We're going to go ahead and put the screws back in here next. Looks like we are good to go. These are screwed down in. From here, we're going to go ahead and put the volume and tone knob in along with the switch. All right, washer, nut. Let's do the volume next. Okay. We have these screwed on here, and last but not least is our three-way switch that needs to go on. We are going to replace, hopefully it fits, it should, the nut and washer on here with the black one that came off of the original. Let the flat part down. Here we go. And as luck would have it, everything fits. So we're not going to tighten that down all the way either, but we're off to a good start as we have both the volume and tone on the guitar with the three-way switch. We're going to go ahead now and flip it over and get everything wired up. So this is the two pickup bus board here. Let's separate these wires here as best as we can. And to do that, we will have the red wire first. We may actually have to do is strip a little bit more off of this. And hopefully that does the trick. Push all the way down in and release. And we are good. Strip that one down. Let's go ahead and do, try to get the white one down here. All right, so now that's in all the way. Next is going to be yellow, I believe. My apologies for not filming this perfectly. This is kind of my first time filming something like this. Just trying to get you guys as good of a look as I can here. All right. I only have one left, which is the black. So that trimmed, we're gonna go ahead and pop it in. These are so tiny, it's not as easy as it looks, guys. All right. So with all four in, you will see the diagram goes red, white, yellow, black. So from there, we're gonna go ahead and move into putting the pickup positives in, and those are red, of course. And so we have the first one, which is going to be the neck pickup. That is the first one, which will go right here. All right, and then we'll have bridge. Remember, we marked it with the blue. B for B, so blue for bridge. That will go next to it, right here. And then last but not least, we are going to have our red from the 9-volt input, which is next to those two. From here, the next move is to get the two pickups plugged in. You are going to have your neck pickup, which is here, and that will go black and white, which will go the third one. I recognize it's kind of hard to see here. I'll get you a better look. So black and white into 3 and 4. All right, and then we're going to do bridge pickup, which will be black and white into 1 and 2. So it's black, white, white. To give you a better idea there. Okay, so last but not least, we've got to wire in the pots. Next thing we need to do, we still have to connect the ground to the input, so we're going to do that last. As far as connecting the other two wires from the input, those are going to go into the master tone switch. Next, we have these little guys here. We have a couple of these. One will go from here. All right, so we have black and white. That is going to go to master volume. I'm trying to get you guys as good of a shot as I can at this. Okay, so you can see here, black and white, first two prongs. Next, we are going to take black and white again. So from there, we're going to jump across to the first two on the tone. So all that's left to do from here is connect this clip from the 9-volt battery ground to the input jack itself. Unfortunately, I had already screwed the input jack back in, not realizing this needed to be done. So I'm going to go ahead and take that back apart and show you guys that. We don't want to go too far forward, just enough to where we can grab this ground. For now, our 9-volt to rest up against here, just because there isn't another option. This is going to be incredibly tricky, as it does not look like this route is wide enough for this cable. Obviously, no one likes to have to do this, but we are going to use this drill here with a small bit. Notice I'm not using a really large bit. Just try to bevel that hole out just enough to get that cable through. You obviously want to be careful not to hit any of your switches or wiring. Let's try again, and then we'll hit it with some canned air once we have it completely opened up, and we are through. We're able to get this through. I mean, the other way to do it would have been to cut the wire and reconnect the wire, but that defeats the purpose of having a solderless kit, and to be truthful, it was probably easier just to bevel that out a little bit. Let's go ahead and connect. All right, so there you go. Now all it's left to do is reconnect these. And that's going to be it, guys. We are fully connected. And now we got to figure out how to navigate this mess of wires into the guitar. With everything connected, now we're left with this giant bird's nest of wires that we need to try to contain. The easiest way to do that is to kind of pull your 9-volt wire away. We're going to put our bus board in between here. Unfortunately, battery box will not fit. This is a very tight route. I really don't have a lot to work with. So we're going to put a metal attachment here and put our 9-volt inside of here. And that sucks in the sense that it'll be tough to change. For right now, it is what it is. And I'll probably eventually make this magnetic to make that easier to change. But for the moment, so that we can at least get up and running, we're going to use some quick wire ties. Next trick is going to be tying this down. The bus board has double-sided Velcro on it, so it makes sticking it in the cavity pretty easy. Let's go ahead and put one more wire tie around here. One more around all of this. So this wire kit gets pushed down into here. We still have room, fortunately, for our 9-volt battery. Okay, so while I don't have the battery clip installed yet, with all of this wiring in here, it's really going to prevent this from moving around. So now that we have it on, what I'm going to go ahead and do is just wrap the top of it in some electrical tape, just so I don't have to worry about any metal touching or any interference there. Okay, just for the sake of this demo, once I get that little clip installed, I won't have to worry about that possibly moving around in there. And we're all good. We're going to go ahead and drop this back on, and we're set. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of how these pickups sound. Ultimately, I found these pickups to have a very good amount of punch and a pretty high output. So I'm going to take this guitar and jam on it for the next month or so, and then do a really long demo vid where I'll demo a bunch of different sounds and effects, and even just straight line in. And I'm going to do a separate video on how they compare to the headset there that are over my left shoulder, and we'll see which one holds up better. But I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. The headset's, yeah, definitely got a little bit of an edge. But I think it's very close, and for the price point, you know, I'm definitely seeing where these would be an excellent option for a budget instrument. If you're curious about the Jackson Kelly that I installed these pickups into, be sure to check out this video right here, where I do a full review of that guitar with the stock pickups. If you have any questions, by all means, leave them down in the comments below. I do try to answer all the comments that come through the channel, and as always, thanks for watching.